All right, in this lesson, we're going to do some more masking, which is going to allow us to basically place things behind things in our image. So I have some text here that says crosswalk, and you'll notice that it looks like it's in my image as if it was actually in real life, because I have this dude walking across the crosswalk and it looks like he's in front of the text, when in actuality he's obviously not. It's just what we do to Photoshop to make it look like that. So it's a pretty cool effect and a pretty useful one. You can see that doesn't matter where I move the text, homie is always in front of it. So to start, on Canvas, I have this base image. So you can go ahead and you can right click it and you can copy the image. Once you have the image copied, open up Photoshop and just go new. If you have the image copied, you should see this clipboard option as the first option. Go ahead and double click that, and this will use the same image dimensions of your copied image. Control V to paste the image in, and this is going to be our starting point. Now to start, let's add the text. So let's use the text tool by pressing T or by clicking the option right here. Click anywhere on your image and type in crosswalk in all capital letters. You can double click inside your text box to highlight all of the text. And let's make this text a bit bigger. Maybe 180 will work. I have my text bolded. I have it set to 180. I have my text white. So you can choose this option right here and choose white text. And I think I'm good to go. So I'm just going to press this little check mark and my text is created. Now I can move my text by using the move tool, which is up here, or by pressing V. And my text is just a bit too big. So I'm going to go back into my text tool, double click my text, and let's just keep it. Let's just do 150. Press enter or the check mark up there. And let's move our text right about there. So how do we get this text to go behind our guy right here? And there's a really easy way. I could just erase the text that I don't want to see, but in the future, you're going to be doing some cool effects. So let's learn a better way, albeit a bit of a longer way. So in your layers window down here, choose the original layer, the dude layer, not the text. Choose the original image. And we're going to let Photoshop do some of the work for us, at least do most of the work. So with this layer selected, you're going to use the select option up here, and you're going to select a subject. You have to wait a few seconds, and Photoshop is going to use AI to basically select the subject, select the person in your photo that they think you're trying to work with. So once that's all done, you can see that our dude has been selected with this little outline. Now, unfortunately, Photoshop does not always perfectly select the object. The algorithm is not perfect, and so we're going to do some work too. Photoshop did some work. Now it's our turn to do a little bit of work in terms of making this selection a bit bigger, or a bit better, I should say. So go back and select the move tool, or sorry, not the move tool, the rectangular marquee tool. So this second option here. And you should see a select and mask button at the top. Go ahead and give that a click. Now, I'm not too sure what view pops up for you, but what I like to use, or what works best for this particular lesson, is over here in the top right, the view, choose the overlay option so that you have your dude is red. This is telling you what Photoshop has selected. This is the outline of your subject. Now, it's pretty good for the most part, but if you start to zoom in a little bit, you'll start to notice some imperfections. So go ahead, and we're going to keep it simple. We're going to use this third option, which is just a brush tool. It's just a brush tool. And if you hold Alt and scroll up, you can zoom in where your cursor is. Let go of Alt, and you can scroll up and down. Hold Alt, and you will zoom to wherever your cursor is by scrolling up on your mouse wheel. So right off the bat, the biggest imperfection that I am seeing is with his foot right here. You can see that the red has extended to the background and has basically said this is part of your subject or your dude. That's obviously not the case. This is the ground. I do not want this to be part of my mask, my selection. So what you can do is pick a brush size up here. I like to use a nice 10. It's pretty good. And I'm going to zoom in here real good. Now I'm going to hold Alt so that I can deselect. You can see you have a plus and minus changing into your circle. So if you hold Alt, it'll become a minus. And I'm just going to click and I'm going to drag and I'm going to wipe out all that extra red stuff, that selection that I don't want. And I'm going to get it nice and close to his leg and his shoe. If you make a mistake like this, just Control-Z to undo. Now on the flip side, part of his shoe is not selected, so I actually want to extend the red region. In this case, I don't have to hold Alt. I can just click and I can paint some red so that I get his whole shoe covered. Just like that. And it doesn't need to be perfect, but just so you get the idea of what we're doing here. So there is the selection that we've modified now. So that looks much better. Now let's not spend too much time on this, but there may be some other imperfections we can fix. So for example, on this shoe, you can see that some of the ground is being selected. So I'm just going to hold Alt, and I'm going to get rid of some of that selection. Also, some of his shoe has not been selected, so I'm going to just not hold Alt, and I'm just going to click, and I'm going to highlight his shoe a little bit more here. Maybe a little bit more. There. Much better. There's some other details we could look at. Like, for example, you can see his hat has kind of been taken off. You can see if you go into his fingers that the tips of his fingers have not been selected. You don't have to do this because this is a little bit tedious. So I'm going to just change my brush and get his fingertips in. And what else is there? It's pretty good. Oh, you can see some of his hand has not been selected, so I'm going to just do one of those. As long as you cleaned up the shoes, I'm happy. But maybe, just maybe, because it's very obvious. You should do this one too. He's got a bit of hair sticking out. So I'm going to include that. Just like that. All right. So now that your selection has been refined, in the bottom right, you can press the OK button. And now we go back to our original screen, except our selection is now more accurate. Now what you can do is you can choose the crosswalk layer, your text layer, and you can press this button down here. This is going to attach a mask to the layer and the one below it. So my crosswalk layer selected, I'm going to press the mask button. And now you can see that this text layer has been masked to the selection we made of the original layer. So what does that mean? Well, right now it means that the text is only going to show where that selection we just created was. However, that's the opposite effect that I want. I don't want the text to show inside the selection. I wanted the selection to basically hide the text, and I want to see the text everywhere outside the selection. So that's a very easy fix. In the bottom right, where your layers are, make sure you have that black and white mask selected, this little box, and then just hit your keyboard with a Control-I. And that's going to invert your mask so that now we're seeing the selection. We're basically seeing text everywhere except what we selected. Now there's one last thing we can do. Is you see these little chain link symbols basically signifying that this text is attached to the image. If you click that symbol, it should go away. And now if you select your move tool, you can, you have to choose the text layer then, and now you can move your text around. So it doesn't matter where you put the text is being properly masked by our selection we made. So there we go. Pretty cool technique we can use, and we can add as much text as we want to this picture, and it's going to be always going to be behind. We can add more than just text. We can add images. We can add all types of things, and this guy is always going to be in front of it.